Well, tell me about your husband and FDF.
Yes, my husband was a dancer way before FDF, of course. And he came at 16 to the United States and came from the Peloponnese, the Kalavrita area of the Peloponnese, where actually that's where they started the War of Independence against the Turks. So it's a very important part of Greece, historically. Anyway, he was a great dancer, so he came in with Tsamiko and Kalamatiana and Sirta and all that. That's what everybody did in the at every festival, and there were so many. He joined and became a dancer and teacher out of the famous intersection.
Right.
People mention that. So he was one of the teachers that taught at the intersection. And that's where Anne and Robbie
Right.
and an American brought me in there.
Really?
I came from Athens where, I didn't know any of that stuff. I learned how to
Oh,
dance
that's
here.
right. They didn't have the village dance.
Yeah, no, I came into America with, cha-cha and, things like that. So it was a bet I made with my father that I could learn how to Greek dance like all of these Americans,
Right.
So anyway, so my husband also was a member of the Hellenic dancers, which was Ethan and George Alexiadi, Charlie Kyriakou, a lot of people that have passed now.
Okay.
And
Heard so much about Charlie.
yeah, I just recently saw him. He's out of the, he's no longer in the sanitarium.
That's
They
what I
let him
heard.
out. He's a little overweight, a little sedated. I saw him at a Cretan festival. My daughter's getting married this May now to a Cretan. So I saw
you're
him
busy
there.
then.
Yeah. Anyway, so going back to my husband, at one point he decided he pulled out with some members, Ann Sirota, Roby Schulman, myself. Actually, there were only 3 of us that were Greek. 4. Me, my husband, George Nichols, who is our cubaro, who is not here today. He's also a judge. And Lenyo, a Cretan woman. We were the 4 Greeks. And the rest of the group of 20 members called Panegyri were like Robbie and Anne and just people that loved Greek dancing and the Greek culture. So all of a sudden in those days, the Greek church did not have dance groups. So when they have the Greek festivals, they would hire us. So my husband's group called Panegyri, which means festival in Greek, but our group would dance at St. Anthony's, would dance in Sacramento, Stockton,
Wow.
San Jose. We've danced in the valley. We danced in Torrance. What's the Redondo Beach? Covina. These are names now because if you're from San Diego, they don't really ring a bell for you. But they're parishes around here. Later on, when the church finally realized that they have something there,
Yeah.
they started encouraging that their own parishioners start sending their kids and teaching them and create dance groups, and that's what that came about. And when they stopped hiring us, then our membership, Robbie and Ann and Pam, some other members, they all became directors to these churches.
I'm so happy you just explained that to me because
Oh.
I've never understood.
Oh, how that all came
Yeah,
about.
I mean,
Yes.
I've heard names kind of
Yes.
pulled, but I didn't know, or I hadn't put it together the way
Yes.
you did. Thank you.
Yes,
So much.
and like Anne's husband, her first husband, Mike, he taught the Redondo group. All of our
So helpful.
all of our dancers, not all of them, but out of the 20, I would say, half became directors to different churches. So
But at first, were the churches sending students to you? Did you say,
No,
or you were
no,
going?
never.
No?
We would be the performers at their Greek festivals.
Oh.
You know, they would be doing the cooking like they do now in the Greek festivals,
Mm-hmm.
and there would be music playing for people to dance to, and then there would be a performance. We were the performance.
Oh, okay.
So, Redondo Beach in those days, they would perform in the Torrance Center.
Okay.
They were not. Then later on, they switched it to on their own premises because it was too expensive to rent. St. Anthony's in Pasadena, they would have all their festivals at the racetrack, Santa Anita Racetrack. Always.
Peter mentioned that to me,
Yes.
Yeah.
So we would always be dancing there. And anyway, that was that story. Then at some point, when FDF started getting bigger, they were asking Nick Forever to come and join and become one of the judges. And at some point, he finally did. It must have been, I want to say, 81, 82 is when he started becoming a judge. And in those days, right now, the system is that one dance is performed, young people are dancing here with a group of judges in another hall, banquet room.
Right. I went to FDF this year, and so I kind of.
That was not the case way back. Everything took place in one hall.
room.
So that means that the judges were judging until 1, 2 in the morning, and they would start early because they had to see everything. Now, there were not as many groups performing.
But still.
Still, it was very exhausting because then you had the meetings, and that was
And the scoring. That's what
Insane.
Ellie was talking about, staying
Yes.
up all night.
That's right. That's exactly what that is. And you had the politics of people in the priest coming in without naming who, what, and saying how you doing, and this is a good group. How are you judging it? And this is a good group. At some point, my husband got fed up with that sort of interference, and he said, "This is after many years," and he said, maybe 10 years he was judging. He said, "I will go back and teach dancing and will help a parish does not have a dance group." And that's what he did. And his last, and then they did very well one year, and they became the sweepstake winner. Say it, winners?
Winners. Mhm.
Winners. You can tell my Greek accents. I said wieners. And
They wouldn't like to be called that.
no,
Sure.
out of St. Anthony's. He had such a big group. There were like 35, 40 dancers. Very hard to control on a dance floor
Sure.
to take that many. So that year, the sweepstakes took place in Arizona. And that's when he had a horse for part of because you have to do something unusual for sweepstakes. If you're the biggest,
Right.
winner the previous year, you come back and you do something different.
And they don't do that anymore, right?
They still do, except that my husband went overboard and he had a horse come in, and the bride was on a horse and walked by the judge's stable, and the horse did what horses naturally do. He plumped. It was a fabulous year. Peter can tell you stories about that. That was a great year. So, but what my husband loved, and he never accepted to get paid for that, because that became a little part-time job for a lot of people. And my husband was a firm believer that you need to give back to your church, to your community. Not church so much as to the Greek community, in the bigger picture. And if you have any knowledge on whatever level, be it language, be it dancing, whatever it is, you need to do that. And that's what he was doing. And he mentored a lot of his dancers that became directors in other groups. They were all over. And my husband passed away that year of the sweepstakes at the end of '94. That was 20 years ago. But
Was he sick or?
cancer, started with kidney cancer, and then it kind of,
Sorry.
yeah. But the great thing about it and what he loved is that when he was finally directing at the very end, the last few years, because you have every kid want to join at some point. They try once, and if it's not their cup of tea, they're off they go. he made it a rule that they could not be cool kids and the weaklings. Because after dancing, he said, you guys all have to go somewhere and have coffee, have dinner together, eat somewhere, Denny's, whatever. I want everybody to participate. You're not doing this just us, the good ones, the good dancers, everybody. And he encouraged that. And to this day, I have parents come in and say, my son was a lousy dancer in your husband's dance group, but he blossomed because he was involved, he was incorporated, he was not outcast, he was kind of geeky. And my husband also encouraged kids dating. And just like the bishop, he wanted to see a dancer from Southern California have a relationship with somebody up north and hopefully culminate in a marriage. And what's weird, that this May, my daughter, who's an attorney, is marrying a Cretan, another dancer. And my daughter is now a director. She's gone through all of the dancing, like her kids in her age group. And she's now marrying a dancer, also an attorney, out of another part of Los Angeles.
That's wonderful.
Isn't this great?
Yeah.
So this was a great platform, and I tell people you need to attend an FDF competition. For no other reason, you never see that many Greeks all at the same place at the same time, from little 3-4-year-olds to up to adults.
There were some very elderly people in the audience too watching.
Well, the audience, yes, because they're seeing grandchildren.
Sure.
But the dancers, way back, every so often you'll have an older group perform, in their 30s. They look older with the by comparison to the teenagers.
That's older.
But my daughter loves dancing, loves directing, loves
What's her
teaching.
name?
Nicole. Yes. And my son also has done the same thing. Taught, danced. And everybody has their own little specialties. My daughters now, I have a very big collection of costumes.
Oh, you do too?
I do. I have a very big collection of costumes. I have my daughter for the last few years been in charge of renting out the costumes, bringing them back to dance groups. Yes. So
you're still very involved in
only
some ways.
peripherally. Anyway, but my husband's passion was to form. We were actually speaking around on this topic outside with Peter, to create some kind of a cultural center where all of these things can go in, meaning costumes, meaning books relating, jewelry, all phases of that. And because this is now under the church umbrella, some people don't want it to be under the church umbrella, that it should be more neutral, So, I don't know. It's sad to say, I hate to quote Father Bacchus out of St. Sophia, who says, the only thing we're famous for is our food at the Greek festivals. We don't have a hospital in our name. We don't have any of the big institutions. We don't, But, there's a lot of well-to-do Greeks that have done well that would love to have their name associated with good causes. So maybe that will be one thing sometimes in the future. Yeah. But look at all the people out there. None of those people that you've interviewed or will be interviewing started FDF in the beginning.
No.
My husband was, he was not in the beginning either, but he was from the 80s.
Well, Ellie was in the beginning.
Yes. I'm talking about out here. Yeah. So.
I wish I could have met him.
Well, you met Ellie. That's great.
Yeah.
And we've lost a few judges. They've gotten old and they've passed on.
Sure. That's life. Though.
That's life. Yes.
Part of it.
Absolutely. One of the great things is that when this became an FDF for the Western states, that's a lot of states.
Yes.
they don't always participate, but there was a year Hawaii participated because they're part of the
Yeah,
Western.
I've heard that. And Alaska.
And Alaska
participated?
participated. So, I was telling Peter, he was surprised to hear this, but for a Greek father to have his children participate in FDF sometimes becomes as costly as going to Greece for the summer. He has to make a decision. Am I doing Greece? Am I sending my kids to FDF? Because once you start, you can't just stop it. It's a commitment.
I wondered about that when I was at FDF. I said, this must be expensive.
It is.
Not just that weekend. but
Yes.
To participate.
Because some, like we've been to Seattle, we've been to whatever it is, we're always going, right? We're renting hotels.
Sure.
The girls have to have an outfit for banquet night, the night of the awards, every dancer has to pay to participate dancing. I always thought that was not fair. But how can you put it together without that?
I know.
So it's a rich man's hobby for his kids to
I thought
to
of
get
that too.
entrenched in that,
Yeah.
because there's meals outside, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I won't take your time. But
Thank you so much.
but-
This has been really